Check, 1, 2, check, 1, 2. Hey everybody, it's tafony here once again, and today's Rambling About is going to be on the Endorphin.es Queen of Pentacles. It is a 30 HP 909 inspired drum module. It is analog voices and sample-based voices. It comes in at 30 HP. If I didn't say that already, it has a master DJ filter for performance stuff. It has onboard multi-effects. It has individual outputs. It has a lot of things going on, and I want to get some housekeeping out of the way because I feel like I have a lot to say about this one actually today. And that housekeeping segment, I'm not affiliated with Endorphins. I purchased this used with my own money from an American seller. It is not sponsored by them or presented by them or anyone. I'm not a journalist. I'm not there to assess it for you or present it to you. Rather, this is just a video blog, and I'm trying to share my experiences, my journeys, my thoughts on hardware, electronic music production with you together. And more importantly than all of that, it sounds like this. Okay, Queen of Pentacles. So this one is, for me, such a mixed feelings module because, as I've said in another video, that sometimes, or usually when people say something they have mixed feelings, it means that there aren't all good feelings, and that is certainly the case in this. But when I say that here, I just want to say that, like, there's times and things that I adore about the Queen of Pentacles. When you get it set right, it sounds amazing. And this DJ filter, with its problems, and I'll get into that, sounds so good. It's so many drum voices in such a small package, and if you're following the channel, you know I love my silver panels, and the person I bought this from, I believe that they don't sell it silver new. You have to buy their Pimp Your module package or whatever they call it with the different knobs. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but it looks beautiful, if that counts for anything. It has lots of I/O, but there's things that I also really don't like about this thing too, and we'll get into that as well. But I just want to say, like, we're going to have to see how things go in this video, because sometimes I love it, other times I don't love it. And what we're going to do to test this all out today, I am going to send it sequence from the Behringer RS9, very 909-y sequencer style. That wasn't paired intentionally, I just put it in this other smaller compact case here, which I really liked. Now, I want to sort of go through the voices first to talk about things, but we're going to do that first, just go through the panel layout first of all. So there's individual mixes for all of the voices, with an exception of the two samples share a mix. So sample 1 and 2 are shared, and 3 and 4 share a level. And one of the issues I have with this thing is that the samples included in this one, and I find sample management is a chore, and sample management on the Queen of Pentacles is really a chore because it's really, for one, the SD card is on the rear of it, so you have to unplug the module, flip it over, pull out the SD card. But for two, it's really picky about its file requirements. So the samples on board that it came with, I assume, without confirmation, I assume those are the ones that are factory. They all sound really good. They're fun to noodle with, and I don't use the samples on here too often. I mostly stick to the analog voices, which we're not going to do today. We're going to explore them all. But yeah, one issue I have with them, though, is that they are quite quiet, and yeah, so you got to really be careful with your mixing. Now, there is the individual channel volumes. There is individual channel mutes, which is another issue that I'll get into in a second. But there's also a master volume with overdrive. Now, everything on the Queen of Pentacles for me is in one breath, I love, and then another breath has problems. So let's start with a kick here. Now, we're going at 120 BPM just because it's really boring, and I want to give you some overview of the volume things before we get into things here. I haven't gone through the whole panel yet, but I want to just jump into this volume thing while we're rambling about everything. Now, the volume. This is the master volume here. It has overdrive once you get past full, but the problem is with this, it has, in an attempt to have the overdrive not hard clip, it overcompensates and brings the overall volume down too far. So I have a little bit of end of chain compression here, which is going to hurt this because I want my voice to be balanced with the Queen of Pentacles. But what happens is you get all the way up to the end of the volume and then you bring in that overdrive. How the overdrive can sound too, and it's a nice performance tool, but I just wish it's like they came so close, right? It's just not quite perfect. So it's nice to be able to have it on full and then as a performance tool come in and crank it further without clipping. But in a mix, it's not quite right, and it seems to suck out a little bit of the low end. However, issues with the low end persist here for my unit anyway, because it's hard to get the frequency cut off back to the center. What Jeremy said in his Red Means recording video, I'm going to paraphrase here again, but DJ filters of all varieties, whether it's, I used to own the Erica Synths DJ VCF, I had the Modbap Modular Hue, has a DJ filter on there. These need either a center detent or a bypass switch or both, because it's just like, so many times with this thing I have noodled with it in a way that I think I am doing something. Now, there's lots of things on board here that are not quite there, but, or I'm thinking like, wow, I'm really, my bass drum must be tuned way too high because, here, let's do an example here. Because I think I'm at the center, right? But I'm actually overdriven, maybe on the master volume, or this frequency cutoff is just not quite to center. So now in this mix, it sounds fine, but just, I love the performance. This is just like everything on the Queen of Pentacles. I love how this filter sounds as a performance tool. It's awesome. But like everything on the Queen of Pentacles, it's just not quite right because there's no way to bypass it. There's no way to be sure, especially in the heat of the moment, that you're getting back to the middle, right? If that's where you so want to be. So there is a CV input for the VCF. Maybe you set this to where you want it to be, and then you use like an IntelliGel planar or a Acid Rain technology navigator to make sure you're returning to the middle instead of this big encoder. But this thing is like $800, right? Like it, I don't know. Sometimes when I talk to people who aren't in the Eurorack world about some of these issues, they just kind of like can't even believe that something this expensive could have these problems. And I sort of feel the same now. With that being said, like I said, I have really mixed feelings about it. That filter sounds amazing. I love how that sounds. Like, this is killer. Now, we don't have a whole drum mix going here, but yeah, sounds killer, but has issues. Now, the kick drum, let's do a little sound design here. I love how this sounds. They nailed this 909 sound. Like, but there's some weird things too on it, right? Like everything here. So, the envelope of the tail, you don't get any control over the click, which I assume is the case for the actual 909 as well, but your envelope doesn't seem to do much here in this range, but then you get into the shorter part, it seems to sort of be changing the click, less the length, if that makes any sense. So if we keep bringing it down, it's going to get into like super snappy, and then, you know, totally not change a whole lot in the lower end, right? But then there's this drive, and again, the mixed bag of things, right? So sounds amazing, but then controls like these things suck. These little knobs are terrible. They are like I have fat fingers, I am a fat person, I have a hard time controlling these up against the other ones. These just suck. Like, there's no way around it. It's bizarre to me that like these seem like the same size as those those taller potentiometers that you see on like the Ericsson's Pico, those plasticky ones. Why didn't they do it here? I don't know. Is it they're just trying to give you more room to access these mutes? I don't know. That's really bizarre to me. Now, the kick sounds so good to my ears. I love how this sounds. Sorry, speaking of not having enough room, let's break everything. But then, so you have a drive at this stage. Bring our length down. We have a tune. But then this tune doesn't seem to do a lot. And, sorry, I muted it. I don't know. If I bring it down all the way, there's just only click, right? It just doesn't seem like it's a tune thing. Now, it always sounds good. I muted again. See, this just like, how is this panel so cramped? I don't know. Turn it up. Okay, now it's too high. And of course, it's very hard to be precise with these stupid little pots, but I think it's like the tail is probably called that because it's not envelope. I'm assuming it's because it's a combination of like the click and the decay and everything in between. So maybe if I extend the length, will my tune do more? No, it's tuned all the way up. So if we tune it down a bit, I don't know. It just seems like maybe mine is faulty. No, at the bottom, the tune does a little change. I don't know. I just like don't even mess with the tune because it doesn't do a whole lot. Basically what I'm trying to say. That being said, it has a mix in here. Let's crank it up. Sometimes you'll find, though, that if you didn't have that DJ filter cut off all the way, right? If I'm using a little bit of resonance, which maybe I'll take it all the way off, maybe the tune will make more of a difference now? No. I don't know. I mean, but again, like, oh my god, it's hitting those mute switches. Tune's a little bit, right? But it sounds great. It sounds spectacular to my ears, right? But the controls, I don't know. Which sort of just makes me think like maybe like a sample, a 909, if you don't have that much hands-on control, like a sample of a 909 kick would probably do the same thing. Anyhow, let's go into the snare. So this one has less controls here, but that's okay. Again, the snare drum and clap share a pot here for the tail, which is kind of bizarre, but that's okay. There's a here. Well, I'll just say quick. I think they should have foregone this sample rate knob here for different control over the tail of the clap, but that's okay. Again, I think it's like this is like a macro, right, for a bunch of different things that are going on. Like you hear the transient noises. More at the end, right, because it's longer presumably, but I think there's just like, think of the tail knob as a macro for your sound design, right, because you don't get a lot of other things here other than a tune. Now the tune on the snare actually does seem to do something. But again, I probably would have chosen to, I would trade my tune knob for a noise mix here, because it feels like I'm using the tail to Like I want to get it as short as I can without losing the noise, right? So that'll do. I'll tune it up a bit. But again, there's no precise tuning here because this stupid potentiometer is so small. And then, so this one, the CP tone, I think this is a shared value. No, it's not. Okay. So that's our clap. Now, they share the tail, but they do not share the tone knob, and they do not share the mix knob. So that's okay. We're going to unmute our clap, and this clap sounds really good. Just like the mixed bag of everything here. Sounds awesome. Now, okay, the tail isn't changing anything here for some reason. I don't know what that is or why that is. I'm starting to wonder if I have issues with my unit here and that's there, but you know what? We just got to do what we got to do today. So let's run through the tone. I muted it again because this potentiometer is a millimeter away from the knob. I've done it again. Yeah. Now, it sounds amazing. But that's clap. Now let's go into our fourth sample. So these ones, now they share two mix pots here. We're going to turn them up. This is the first sample in our fourth input here. And you know, before we do this real quick, I'll just show you something here. You can do, if you're sending it clock, you can do fills here as a performance tool. Oh, you know what? I need to unmute my clock channel. And again, I think this is sick. So we can do rolls basically by holding it down if you're sending a clock. I think that's awesome. Now, the implementation of the samples is a little weird to me too. If we go into S1 here, which is where we're sending this knob is pitch. And I don't know if there's a way to cycle through what does what. And I don't know if there's a gate versus one-shot mode. I believe they're all one-shot mode. But this sample, little interesting in a weird way. I don't know what it is, but let's go and unmute the other samples. So the first two share one mix and the other two share the other pot, but then all four of these are different pitch or speed, presumably both. But again, they're really quiet, so like, sorry, not in the effects, if that makes any difference. So if I bring in my bass drum now, I gotta be careful because these gotta stay cranked then, right? So that's okay, but like, I don't know. Just seems like an interesting. Now there is an effect on board for compression, I believe, but we'll talk about the effects in a second. Let's do a little filter sweep. Now, to cycle through the banks, you press this, so you cycle through the mode. I think this is different parameters. So what if we we'll solo the fourth track. So this is pitch right now. If I press this now, does that fidelity maybe? Bit crash? Red is pitch for sure. Maybe this is pitch and speed. Yeah. I don't know. It's just like, this isn't where I'd want to do my sample management. I would trade this for other stuff. However, once you get it going, it can sound really good, right? So you switch your sample banks, though. I think they're all locked into banks that you have to manage on the computer, I believe. Which, again, this is why I'm like, I would trade these in for 909 samples that are preset. But what we have on board is, we'll hold this down. see what else we got. Let's unmute the other tracks. Got some sort of chord stab. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, okay, we got pitch and length. Let's bring in my kick. Switch banks again. I think there's 4 different banks you can have on board. Somebody's got some cool chord stabs in here. So in all my complaining about this thing, though, once you get it going, it sounds so good in 30 HP, right? Like, I don't know. It's just such a mixed bag in some ways. And now, speaking of bizarre sample workflows, let's unmute everything. Now, again, we're going to drown our samples out because they're way too quiet, so let's bring these down. And let's just turn up the volume a little bit so I'm not drowning out. Try a different bank, a third bank. Oh yeah, that's nice. So I'll stop it for a second. Which one is crazy long? Okay, this isn't doing anything. This isn't doing anything. These are supposed to be manual triggers. Oh, maybe because I'm setting the clock. I don't know. This is just, to me, I don't know. It's too much to handle. Yes, okay, that was the 4th one. Again, part of the issue, it's hard to know what you're even... Okay, if I just pitch it way up, it'll play through the sample really short instead of having that crazy decay, so that's okay. But it sounds really nice. Like, I love how this sounds. That kick's a little boomy. Let's bring it down here. Yeah, like, again, it's just like the mixed bag. Like, it's so close to, or there's so much potential for perfection there, I guess maybe is part of it, right? Like, it doesn't suck. It really doesn't suck. It's a wonderful kit, but all of these things are really annoying. Which, you know, it happens. Like this, I love how this sounds. I love coming in here and we'll bring a kick in. I like it. Now, on the performance front, these on the Black Noir, these switches were just mute or unmute, but there's a weird thing on this one where, lots of weird things on this one. We got, so these are effects on, or effects off on the left side. And there's like an audible change when I don't send these through effects, even though my effects should be bypassed, I thought, by having the dry wet mix all the way off, but that's a little bizarre. Now the thing that openly I just really dislike, it bleeds. And this is probably the thing I would say of all of the little headaches on here, this just like, I'll give this a come on moment. Like, I don't know what it is in Eurorack, and this isn't unique to the Queen of Pentacles. This was my problem with the DivKit stereo strips, which they did fix. Thank you, Profaco. They did resolve my issue with it. It was frustrating, but whatever. But stuff in Eurorack just like bleeds. I don't know what it is. Like, I switched cases. That's why it's in this case as well. This is supposed to be muted, and I'll just accentuate it right now, but it bleeds. Like, these mutes don't work. I don't know. That stuff annoys me. Now, let's put all of these effects on, and then we'll go into the effects section, but not before enjoying some of this. One thing I'll say, which is an effect in my mind, but not a part of the effects section here. There's the sample rate thing. Again, another weird thing. So I increase the sample rate, and I get bit reduction. Okay. Like, seems backwards in my mind, right? I'm not out here to critique everyone. I don't know the first thing about making, manufacturing, designing hardware, or anything for that matter. But, like, I don't know. This just seems backwards to me. I increase the sample rate, and the samples get bit reduced. But then, right now, they're not even, like, really doing it. Maybe this is just for the claps. Hold on, let's... Yeah. Okay, so this... Hold on. Because everything's a mystery on here, let's do some scientific experiments. It's a Monty Python reference I didn't mean to make, but let's go to kick. So sample rate with the effects off doesn't do anything. With it on, it doesn't either. Mute the kick again. Well, let's do snare drum, effects off. Doesn't seem to. No, it does seem like there's like some tone change, right? No, it is. Okay. So it's like the body, the analog body doesn't change, but the noise has a shared sample rate. So obviously if we go into effects, it'll also do it, which is okay. But if we mute our snare, do the clap now. Yeah. Yeah, you get bit reduction as you turn up the sample rate. Seems backwards, seems confusing to me. I would trade this for separate controls over the tail for the snare and the clap in a heartbeat. That being said, we're just going to turn this off because I don't find I want to bit reduce the noise section of those two voices, but that's okay. We're going to turn them back on. And sorry, let's finish our scientific experiment. If I have my sample voices and I do this. No, it just affects those noise-based analog voices. Weird. Okay, now that's out of the way. Maybe before I get into the effects, which I dislike, I will get into the DJ filter, which I love. It's just so jammable, right? Really wish that kick muted. That being said, you get good at bringing it back to the center, the cutoff, right? Let's bring in the effects section now. You also got to be careful about bringing your resonance back down afterwards, but yeah. So there's a master effects section on this now, which these weird not mute switches affect. And if we turn these ones off, which won't actually turn them off, but maybe we'll just do kick to start off. We'll send it to the effects. And now this first one labeled cabin pressure for some reason, which is the dry wet mix. I don't like in Eurorack when they just try and bring creativity into the naming of knobs. Please just name it dry wet mix. I appreciate that we're trying to have fun, but I am struggling. So this is these effects sections, and this is the same for the Black Noir. It isn't unique to the Queen of Pentacles, but I don't know. This just, I don't find this straightforward, and I don't find it really intuitive. Like, you know how the Andrew Huang Ghost is, where all the different effects are laid out clearly on here. I just feel like I would have taken a master compressor and knobs that were labeled to coincide with it, because, okay, what effect is this? Well, this is the blue effect. Okay. What does the cabin fever do? I guess that's my feedback of this presumably delay. Okay, well, we'll just mix that in a little bit. And now, in saying that, let's bring in our other voices. Change your type. There's a tap input as well if you want to do these some sort of crazy delay. I'm setting it clock, but we don't need to do a tap tempo in that way, but okay, whatever red is. Oh, we got some sort of distortion. I like that. But my problem is, will you be able to find this afterwards? Okay, what do we got here? Is this compression? Yes. Side chaining? Maybe? Again, it's just like, it's there, but it requires a manual. I don't know. For me, effects elsewhere, I think. Unless you're in a small case, right? I mean, okay, we got reverb. That was weird and springy. Okay, now that's nice. Now, another weird thing though is hold for bypass, so hold it for bypass. And it doesn't bypass. Hold for bypass. And it doesn't bypass. Hold for bypass. And it doesn't bypass. Okay, well, sure. Oh, press both for bank. Okay, but then this one says hold both for meta. So if I press both... Oh. So these are all reverbs? This is a delay. But if I switch banks... Why couldn't these be organized by effect type? Okay, so we got some sort of like decimator. Oh, I wish maybe the previous owner got them all out of order, maybe. Oh, I wish that... I feel like this would be a lot more intuitive if the bank had the effect type and then you could cycle through different, like the bank was for distortions, then you could go through all the distortions, switch the bank was for delays, go through all the delays, but maybe I won't count that on them because, you know, maybe this is probably customizable and maybe the previous owner had just put them to their liking that isn't my liking, which is okay. Yeah, that decimator was kind of nice. Let me see if I can find that again. Again, this is what annoys me about this multi-effects things, right? This is... Okay, here we go. There's like an EQing here. So it's nice. I'll bypass it. Well, I'll turn it dry. Totally dry. No overdrive effect there. My kick's a little quiet. We'll bring that up. And then we'll just bring some in that. We'll bring some of that in. Again, there's some weird limiting that's happening on this too, though, that like it's like overcompensating, right? Because when I totally bypass it, it just like jumps up in volume, which is really bizarre. Now your filters, before or after this? Let's see. Yeah, okay. Filter before the effects. I wonder if there's a way to change that in the settings, but I don't care to do it. I would stick to this decimator because I actually liked it. Oh, not the decimator. Again, red LED. Here's the actual one. I don't know. I would trade in the multi-effects for something else, but Other people, maybe not as drum focused as me, and might appreciate it all in one place. For me, I definitely think it's worth trading for using another effects module, but that's okay. Now, that's about most everything there is to say here. Let me stop this for a second. The nice thing from a performance standpoint in a small case for this one is it has an aux in, and you can send that to the DJ filter, which is sweet. However, again, there's an issue with it. Let's send it a voice. The issue with this one, forgive this crazy sample I was working on earlier. The issue with this one is, okay, one, this attenuator in is impossibly cramped. I'm not a stickler for like build quality and stuff like that, if you know me, but like this is pretty brutal in terms of like the layout. It like so turn the decimator effect off helps too. Okay, that's actually not so bad today. Maybe I just was having a hard time grabbing it. But on the Black Noir especially, it's like the aux in is way too loud. So even when you have it all the way down, it doesn't turn it all the way off, which is the case for this too. But, oh God. I mean, it's still pretty loud. It's not as bad as the Black Noir, but okay, let's use a little screw thing here to try and turn this. But like you turn it all the way down and it doesn't attenuate it completely, right? So like I don't get that. You certainly would never want to use this as a performance tool because you might screw up your whole iPad setup like this, but even at noon it's like cranked. I don't know, this is just so loud, but it is nice to be able to, in a compact case, bring it in here. Bring your effects in too. We're doing some noise today. Now what I did actually like to use this for in a compact case was to send a beefier kick to the Black Noir, which I feel has a pretty thin kick, which is not Endorphin's fault. It's just like the drum machine it's based off has a really thin kick. That's fine, but it's nice to send it another kick, but you gotta like attenuate it before it goes in because the attenuator on board is like not quite there. So yeah, with all that being said, let's hear it. It sounds so good, though. I don't know. I'm going to play this out with that one. I think just like if I'm not here to assess stuff for you or, you know, sell it to you or like, I don't know, tell you what you do or don't like. I just wanted to say that like Queen of Pentacles for me is just this like mixed emotions, the module, because I love how it sounds. I love the compactness of it, but it's very easy to get very frustrated with it. Now, I think we're going to do a really fun jam with it, though, so I'm not getting rid of it. I'm not selling it. I'm not, I'm keeping it. I really like it. On balance, it's sweet. It's an awesome 909, but has a lot of issues that I wanted to point out. And yeah, so I'm Tafony. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. I'll talk to you soon.